Right. Okay. 2019 paper Western Planning, grade 10. Right. First question. Right. First question says retarded growth of roots and red purple patches on leaves are the deficiency symptoms of phosphorus. Deficiency symptoms of phosphorus. Okay. Next one. Question number 2 speaks about moment, right? Not momentum, moment. Okay. So this one asks, now read the question. A uniform rod is clamped. A uniform rod in the sense weight is equally distributed throughout the rod. That's what it means, right? Clamped at the point A. Okay, so you can observe that the object is not clamped at the very center. Okay, it's clamped somewhere else. Okay, this is the point A. Weights x and y. Okay, this is x and this is y. There are two weights. Those are forces which are acting vertically downwards are suspended and balance the rod. Select the correct statement. So they say that when you place the rod on something like this, in this manner, right, the object will be at the balance situation, right? So what you have to understand is when you keep the rod like this from the point A to this end, from the point A to this end, you have 10 centimeters. Okay, and there is a weight hang vertically downwards. And from the point A to this place, you have 30 centimeters. And you have a weight hang here. Okay, that's what you know, right? So you don't know the way of magnitude of the two forces. You don't know the magnitude of the two forces, right? That's it. That is unknown. We have to find it out. Only thing what you know is the length from the point O to the point the place where the X is hang, and the length from the point A to the place where the Y is hang, right? Just give me a second. Right. Okay. So then they ask, select the correct statement regarding X and Y. Now they are asking a statement what would be true regarding the weight X and weight Y. That's what they ask, right? So they say yes, now though it is inclined, though it looks inclined or slanted, they say that the object is at equilibrium. That means it is balanced. That means simply what you can understand from here, the moment acting from the point A towards this direction, the moment acting this into this clockwise direction, this clockwise moment can be balanced from the moment created down to this direction, can be balanced by this anti-clockwise moment. That's what it means, right? So if the two moments to the clockwise direction and to the anti-clockwise direction becomes equal, the rod would be staying at the uniform state, like that mean the object would be at equilibrium. Okay, so what they ask us from, what would be true regarding X and Y if the object is at equilibrium? So how would the X and Y weights should be? That's what they ask, right? So to get an idea, you can simply go for this sort of a expression, right? As we know, F1 into D1 is equal to F2 into D2. This is what the equal of equalizing the moments in order to balance the rod. Okay, so we don't know F1 that is marked as X. Okay, and D1 is 10 centimeters. So we don't know F2 that is marked as Y, and D2 is 30 centimeters. Okay, so if you make an equation, if you make a statement out of this, you can do like this. You can subject Y and get an idea of Y with respective to S in this equation, right? So put X here, 10 centimeters, and divide it by 30 centimeters, then you will subject Y. Okay, then you subject Y. So 10, 13 could be simplified. That means x into 1 over 3 equals to y. That means this statement finally says us 1/3 of the force of x will be equal to the weight of y. 1/3 of the magnitude of x will be equal to the magnitude of the y. So in this case, 1/3 of the magnitude of the x is equal to y. So what you can understand, y is greater or x is greater. So you need 3 y's to get equalized with the magnitude of x, right? Correct. x කිය x වල x 3කට බෙදලා එකක් ගත්තොත් ඒ weight එක තමයි equal වෙන්නේ y වල weight එක. x කියන weight එකේ portions 3කින් එකක් ගත්තොත් 1/3 of the weight of x is equal to the weight of y, right? ඒකනේ final statement එක. You know, obviously we can understand, right? Here the x is greater than y. Okay, this is the statement that you have to come up with. Then බලන්න this question is very creative. උගලන්ට moments හොයන්න දෙන්නේ, right? People those who couldn't think up to this failed in the question, right? එතකොට මේක දැන් මෙහෙමයි. සමහර වෙලාවට මේ point එක දෙන්නේ නැතුව මේ point එකත් include කරලා දුන්නොත් 3y equals x කියලා. එතකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් you have to reach this place and get the most appropriate answer. දැන් x කියන එක්කෙනාගෙන් එකෙන් 3ක් equals to the magnitude of y. They have not given this either, right? එතකොට ඒකෙම opposite එකනේ මේක. ඒ කියන්නේ x එක බෙදලා 3කට එකකින් එක portion එක බර තමයි y වලට equal වෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ y ඒව 3ක් ඕනේ x වල weight එක හදන්න. So what if they have given a statement option like this? You need to understand the concept and go until deep up to this to get the answer. So this is a very creative question. It can go furthermore creative into a deeper creative way. So keep it in your mind. O level is going to be like this now, right? Not simple answers would be accepted, right? So the answer here is x is greater than y. The weight, that means y weight here has to be a lesser value than the weight x. Okay, y weight here has to be a greater value, a lesser value than the weight of x, right? So go for this calculation and get this idea. The answer of the question is 2. Right, next one. All right, next one. Copy it down very quickly. Right. All right, next one, third question. Organelles which synthesis protein and transport throughout the cell respectively. Protein synthesis is completely done by ribosomes, right? Because inside the ribosome only the protein synthesis takes place. That's a very amazing mechanism. You will learn it in A-level biology, right? If you learn biology for A-levels, protein synthesis is very amazing, right? Okay, so RNA involves in the synthesis of proteins. RNA goes through ribosomes for the formation of proteins, right? And then through what the proteins are transported within the cell. Endoplasmic reticulum. So the answer is first one. Select the gymnosperm plant from the below. What is gymnosperm? Seeds that are not covered by a fruit. Right? Seeds which are not covered by fruits are called gymnosperms. So you have to highlight this and write what gymnosperms are. Seeds which are not covered by a fruit. So in your syllabus, you learn two of those seeds which are not covered by a fruit. You can remember cycas, gymnosperms. You have to write the definition. Seeds which are not covered by a fruit. So you learn two examples, cycas and pinus. So you have one example for a gymnosperm here, pinus. Select the answer, indicate the atomic number and the mass number in the standard form, right? Okay. Here, see, in this, you should have seen, I've given this to you, those who were there with me for the last year, right? If you can remember this, here, see, I have taken an element called X, right? The mass number of the element is indicated on top and the atomic number is indicated on the bottom, at the bottom, right? So standard notation of indicating an element is like that. So if it is true, we know the aluminium is 13th element, right? 13th element. So the mass number would be 14. Sorry, it says okay, aluminium has aluminium has 13 protons and 14 neutrons. Okay, so definitely the atomic number would be 13 here, because proton number is the atomic number of an atom, that is 13. 13 and 14 together, it's 27. That is going to be the mass number. Mass number has to be indicated on top. This is the answer. So you have to go for the second option to get the correct answer. Okay, right. Okay, so then next one, not an evidence for a chemical change, not an evidence for a chemical change. What you can remember about chemical changes are chemical reactions. Chemical changes are chemical reaction. If there was a chemical reaction to take place, right, there would be new products formed. Let's imagine this. Carbon is reacting with oxygen gas. Carbon solid is reacting with oxygen gas in the presence of heat and produces carbon dioxide gas. You don't find solid carbon here. You don't find gaseous oxygen here. You would find a new compound called carbon dioxide. It cannot be reversed easily. Can be reversed, but we say that it cannot be reversed. Okay. So how do you find this is a reaction? Because you find carbon and oxygen. How would the carbon and oxygen is gained here? Because of the reacting of carbon and oxygen as raw materials, as elements, right? So what is produced here is a very new product. It is not similar to oxygen, or it is not similar to carbon. It is a new compound called carbon dioxide, has its own unique characteristics. Okay, so that is what a chemical reaction is. A chemical reaction can release heat out during the chemical reaction, or can absorb heat and makes the environment cool. Sometimes we call them as exothermic and endothermic reactions. It can form a precipitation, it can explode, form sound, right? Can be a combustion. Dissolving is not a chemical reaction. If you can remember, we were talking about dissolving these days in mixtures. Can you remember, if you dissolve salt in water, you can evaporate water by heating, and you can again obtain salt crystals. So a reaction, chemical reaction, is something which is not reversible. So dissolving salt in water can be reversed. You can obtain water and salt again, right? When you vaporize water, you can collect water and cool it down to obtain liquid water again. Meantime, salt precipitates at the bottom of the beaker. So you can separate the two components that you mixed earlier, right? So it is kind of reversible. So that is not a chemical reaction. So this is not a factor which is correct about a chemical reaction. Okay, it's not a factor which is correct about reversible reaction. Sorry, chemical reaction. Right. So what part? A diagram below indicates how a force acts on a feet of a runner. To which direction does the runner exert the force? Kind of controversial, okay, kind of controversial. Now when you know about this, when you just talking when you talk about a normal feet, let's talk about a bare feet. Okay, weight of this person acts vertically downwards, and reaction, perpendicular reaction vertically upwards, acts vertically upwards. Now in this case also, right, this is how normal it is, right? So in this case also, the weight of the person should act vertically downwards, but depending on, now we have only indicated with its feet. Okay, so then we don't know how his body positions and in which inclined position is he. Okay, so because of that, you can't really imagine with this diagram how would the weight be applying here. Is it vertically exact down, or else is the weight is slightly angled, right? Weight is not that inclined, but it could be inclined a little, right? It could be inclined a little because of his body position. And because of that, sometimes he would be, because of his inclined nature, he would be applying a force backward onto this direction, right? You would be applying a force backward onto this direction. Okay, so if so, the reaction would be into this direction. This is why most of the athletes, like when they start up in their start, they tend to fall. If they do not step the next foot, right, they will fall. That's because they have an action reaction acting like this, right? That's what make their start to be very powerful and projectile, right? So we don't want to go deep into that level. Basically, we can now what they ask from here is how the force acts on the feet of a runner. To which direction does the runner exert the force? So according to the now they ask into which direction does the runner exert the force, and into which direction does the runner exert force, right? Now in this case, guys, if you can see here, actually his weight acting onto this side. That's why the C acting here as the reaction. Okay, so obviously his force is acting into this direction. This is what his force is. This is what his force is. This is not the force. This is what would be this would be the force when we are walking. We are chill, and when we are walking, this could be the force. But he's a runner, right? Who he's reaching the what do you call acceleration from his rest at the start. This has to be definitely his force. He would be propagating a reaction. He would be getting a reaction onto this direction like this, and that's why he tends to fall if he doesn't keep the next step, right? So they ask into which direction the force is applied. Yeah, mostly to the direction of D, right? Mostly to the direction of D. So sometimes you may have selected this situation also, right? The force is acting backwards, and the reaction is A. Without considering what would this C be, right? C would be, okay. But the most appropriate answer here would be D. Okay, and I can tell you that this is also a kind of creative question. Now, if it was like normal walking situation while your body is perpendicular to the land, you can of course accept this as the force. But in this situation, the force has to be this, right? All right, eighth one, best method to identify carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide is an extinguisher of fire, which is not supporting fire. Insert a glowing splint into the test tube with gas. Yes. If you take a carbon dioxide filled gas chamber, and then if you insert a glowing splint into this glowing splint එකක් කියන්නේ මෙතන මේ fire flame එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. I mean flame එකක් තිබ්බාම observation එක පට්ට. Right? දාපු ගමන් what could happen? The fire would get extinguished. This one goes off. ඊට පස්සේ පොඩ්ඩක් දුම යනවා. Right? Yeah, that's a true answer. But here you have another option. Bubble the gas into calcium hydroxide solution. Calcium hydroxide is what? CaOH twice aqueous. This is simply in general words we call as lime water. Lime juice, lime water. This is originally colorless. Okay, this is originally colorless. Okay, I want those reviews with you, right? නිකන් හරි දාගෙන නම් එන්න එපා පැත්ත පළාතක. දැන් මේකත් I need you to indicate all of these, right? Force is in this direction, this is the reaction what he gets, this is the weight of the person, and this is the perpendicular reaction what he gets. Okay, I want you to do the review. Mama review එක ලියනවා නම් you also can write the reviews. You can get the recording if you have missed what I have done. Go through the recording and do the review. Okay, right? So this is okay. So then the next thing is colorless, what do you call calcium hydroxide, that is lime water, lime juice, that is colorless. If you let it mix with carbon dioxide, it would form calcium carbonate aqueous, and this is milky color. So if you can remember, you should have heard of this since grade 6. Since grade 6 you should have heard it, right? Colors lime water with the carbon dioxide bubble slow it turns into milky color, and then we understand our exhaled air contains carbon dioxide. Very simple. So this is also true. Bubble the gas into calcium hydroxide test tube. That's very true. It turns then into a milky color. Right, that explanation also. That's very true. Okay, so you have two options for that. Two options for that. Right. Okay, next one. The ninth. කලින් එක කියන්නේ D. චනුත් මට ඇහෙන්නේ පට්ට දුරෙන් එන්නේ.
සෝරි ඒක නෙමෙයි 8 එක.
මේකනේ 9th 8th.
ඔව් 8.
මේකත් හරි මේකත් හරි.
ආයික එකක් නෙමෙයිද?
නෑ දෙකම හරි.
ඔක වඩාත්ම ගැලපෙන එකක් එහෙම නැද්ද සර් මේ?
ගොඩක්ම දෙකම ගැලපෙනවා. දෙකම හරිනේ බත් දෙකම ටෙස්ට් දෙක මේ දෙකම උගන්වනවා අපි සිලබස්.
ඒ වුණා මේ තුන්වෙනි එක ගොඩක් කේස් නේද ගොඩක් හයි.
ඇයි?
තුන්වෙනි එක ගොඩක් කේස් නේද ගොඩක් කාබන් ඩයොක්සයිඩ් ගියාට පස්සේ.
ඔව් එතකොට ගොඩක් කාබන් ඩයොක්සයිඩ් ගියොත් ආයි කලර්ස් වෙනවා. එකක් තියෙනවා.
මේක තමයි.
ඒකයි කැල්සියම් බයිකාබනේට් ෆෝම් වෙනවා. කියන්නත් බෑ මේ පේපර් එකට එහෙම ගනි කියලා කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. but still consider both to be correct. මෙහෙම දෙන්නේ නැහැ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඒ කියන්නේ පොඩක් මිස්ටේක් එකක් වෙලා මේගොල්ලන්ට මේ වගේ සෙට් වෙන්නේ නැහැ උගලන්ට. හරිද? right. next one. එහෙනම් ඒගොල්ලෝ අහනවාද best option? එහෙම මොකක්ද අහලත් නැහැ. A trolley with a mass of 2 kg is pulled on a horizontal plane which has no friction. Okay. If the unbalanced force is 6 newtons, calculate the acceleration of the trolley. Okay, apply F equals ma. They ask us to find the acceleration. So force applied on the trolley is 2 newton. Mass of this one is 2 kg. That would be 3 ms minus 2. This is the answer. Which organelle can be only observed through the electron microscope? When you have spoken about this observation of these what do you call cells, actually plant cells and animal cells through the compound light microscope. If you were there for the revision grade 10 class recently, you should have seen those, right? When you observe a plant cell or an animal cell under the compound light microscope, you can simply identify the nucleus of plant cell and animal cell, right? Simply you can observe the plant cell nucleus and the animal cell nucleus. So here is a animal cell. You can observe the spot here is the nucleus. Okay, this is the nucleus, and you can this is a plant cell. I'm sorry, yeah, this is a plant cell. You can observe the cell wall, right? The entire large area is vacuole, cell membrane slightly. You can observe, right? When you talk about an animal cell, in the animal cell also this distinct part, the distinct dot is the nucleus. And this entire area is the border is the membrane. And this area would be the cytoplasm, right? Cytoplasm. Okay, so you can observe those, right? So what do they ask us from? They ask us, what is vacuole is observable, nucleus, vacuole, cell wall is observable, ribosomes are too small. You need to observe them through the microscope, electron microscope, right? So we move to the 13th one. What is not a reason for adding metals like sodium and potassium into acids? Now, if you can remember the facts, when you add sodium and potassium into just water, they react with violent outcomes and vigorous outcomes. They even explode, sometimes catch fire. So you're never going to add them into acids because the reaction would be even more worse. Okay, because those metals are highly cost. That's very true. Those metals are extremely expensive, but that's not the reason why don't you add them into acids. Okay, those react violently with acids. That's true. That's the exact answer why do we add them into acids. Okay, but other facts are also true. Those metals do not react with acids. No, that's wrong. More amount of acid. No, that's not true. This is true, but not the answer. Not the answer. True, not the answer. The answer is they react violently with water, even violently with water. So what if they would be added into acid? They would react worse. A plant with unisexual flowers, pumpkin. Plant with unisexual flowers, pumpkin. A structure develops to carry out the function of a Cooper's lithium. You can remember, if you can remember, immature follicle under the action of primordial follicle, you say that under the action of follicular stimulating hormone, it turns into a Graafian follicle. Then Graafian follicle under the luteinizing hormone, it releases ovum and it turns out into a corpus albicans and corpus luteum. Right? A structure develops to carry out the function of a corpus luteum. Is corpus albicans, no? Corpus albicans, this one. Okay, this is again a problem. 13th one, sorry, 14th one, right? It says, see here, part time here, paper. A, B, C, D, and E are 5 consecutive elements. What do you mean by consecutive elements? Elements in the elements at a stretch, let's say, 1 2 3 4 5 වගේ. එහෙම නෙමෙයි මං කියන්නේ එක numbers එක ළඟ තියෙන elements. Consecutive means that ළඟ ළඟ තියෙනවා, right? එක තුන වගේ නෙමෙයි. එකක් දෙකක් පැනලා නෙමෙයි එක දිගට තියෙනවා, right? Consecutive elements. So A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, D, and E are 5 consecutive elements on the second and third period. Okay, second and third period. If D is an inert element, select the stable compound which is made by the combination of any 2 elements. Okay, stable compound that වෙන තුන. Okay, I'm taking this periodic table, so you have the second period here. Okay, see here the second period. Which color would I use here? Kalugam, right? Method in the second period, this is the third period. Okay, so they are talking about A, B, C, D, E. Okay, and they say D is an inert gas. Okay, if you select this, if you select like this, the word consecutive is quite important here, right? You could select this. You could select this, right? You could select this in this way. They say that though they say that the elements belong to the second and third period. One can select like this from the second period A, B, C, D, and from the third period somebody can select E here. But keep it in your mind, now the elements are not consecutive, right? After 7 the number should not be 11, no, it has to be 8. So then you have to select now, because once you hear the term inert gas, you will come up with the memory of nitrogen. Nitrogen is an inert gas, does not react with anything. Hey, what do you think about the noble gases, the group 8 elements? All those are also gases which are inert, does not react with anything. So put that weight into them also. Yeah, like when you talk about noble gases, they don't react with anything. Okay, then we have taught you the nitrogen is an inert gas because it does not react easily with any other elements. That's an inert gas. It's an inert gas nitrogen, not the noble gas. They are also not reacting. Inert means not reacting, right? So if you select it this way, you are violating 2 things what they say. This has to be consecutive. Okay, this has to be consecutive. One thing you violate here. The elements has to be consecutive, right? Elements has to be consecutive, and those 5 letters should be obtained from both the periods, second and third period. So then what do you have to do? Simply take it away, right? Take it away like this. All right, do it like this. So if A, B, C, and D is neon. Neon is an inert gas, true, and E would be sodium, no problem. E would be sodium, right? Now, can you go for an element? Can you go for a compound which is formed by these elements, which is stable? Can you remember sodium chloride? Sodium chloride, NaCl. Sodium from the first group, chlorine from the 7th group. Can you remember? Can you see a similarity like that here? Sodium chloride because one A, B, C, D, and E, none of them belongs to E belongs to sodium, right? Chlorine does not belong to any of the 5 letters. But you can see letter C stands for fluorine. Fluorine is in the 7th group, which has the similar combining power of chlorine, right? So then sodium and fluorine can be combined, right? Sodium's letters, the letter stand for sodium is E. Letter stand for fluorine is C, EC. That is what is made. Okay, that is what is made. So you have to recognize it properly. Inert gas means noble gases. No, Navindi. Noble gases can inert gases. නමිදි කොහෙද ඉස්කෝලේ මට තරහ නැතෝ කියන්නේ? නමිදි කොහෙද ඉස්කෝලේ මට තරහ නැතෝ කියන්නේ? මයික් එක ඔන් කරලා. right විහාරමාදී. okay right. පුතේ මේ noble gases කියන්නේ noble gases are inert gases කියන්නේ non reactive කියන එක. Inert means they are not reacting. Noble gases කොහොමත් inert තමයි. react කරන්නේ නැහැ කාත් එක්ක. ඒගොල්ලෝ already chemical මේ electronic configuration wise stable ඒගොල්ලෝ they don't react with anything. Nitrogen කියන්නේ inert gas එකක්. එයත් ලේසියකට react කරන්නේ නැහැ. Noble gases වලට අපි කියන්නේ inert gases කියලා. මම කියන්නේ noble gases වල තියෙන feature එකක් තමයි inertness. Does not react with anything. නැතුව noble gases කියන්නේ inert gases වලට නෙමෙයි. කියන්නේ මම කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝක define කරන්න වෙන නමක් නෙමෙයි noble gases define කරන්න තවත් නමක් නෙමෙයි inert gas කියන්නේ. Inert කියන්නේ කාත් එක්කවත් react කරන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක. So noble gases are obviously inert because ඒගොල්ලන් does not react with anything else. Nitrogen කියන්නේ එහෙම එක්කෙනෙක්. inert ලේසියකට react කරනවා. ඒකට ඔයගොල්ලෝ කියයි නෑ නේ සර්. nitrogen react කරනවා නේ atmosphere එකේ oxygen එක react කරලා nitrous oxide වගේ ඒවා හදනවානේ. ඔව් හදනවා. අකුණු ගහන වෙලාවට. දන්නවනේ අකුණු ගහනවා කියන්නේ extreme temperature එකක් and pressure එකක් create වෙනවා කියලා. බර ගානක ලොකු voltage එකක් create වෙනවානේ. අන්න ඒ වගේ extreme condition වලදී nitrogen react කරනවා. other than that මලාට nitrogen react කරන්නේ කාත් එක්ක gas එකක් විදියට. ඒතකොට nitrogen is an inert gas. And noble gases are also inert gas. Does not react with anything. Inertness කියන්නේ react කරන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක කාත් එක්කවත්. හරි නේද? නැතුව group එකක තියෙන elements identify කරන්න use කරන නමක් නෙමෙයි. දැන් noble gases කියලා කියන්නේ group 8 elements are noble gases. එහෙම define කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඇයි ඒගොල්ලෝ noble gases කියන්නේ they do not react with anything. ඒක තමයි අර noble කියන නමෙන් එන්නේ. Inert කියන එක කියන්නේ no reacting with any other thing කියලා. හැබැයි ඒක noble gases වල විතරක් නෙමෙයි තව සමහර elements වල react කරනවා. ඒතර මේ දැන් gold වගේ ගන්නකො එයත් inert element එකක් react කරන්නේ නැහැ නේද ලේසි කරන කාත් එක්ක. එල right okay. හරි. අහන්න දෙවිදි අහන්න එහෙම මොනවද තියෙනවද? මම වගේ නම කියනවා හරියද දන්නේ නැහැ අපි. right හරි. So what is formed here? EC තමයි මෙතන form වෙන්නේ. right නවිදි මට තරහ නැතුව කියන්නේ Google Classroom එකෙන් access කරලා තියෙන්නේ වැඩේ යනවද? ඒ ටික ඕකේද? ඔය mic එක on කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් හොඳයි. So the answer for this one is EC. This is the answer. Okay, right. Make a part. A motor vehicle travels from the city A to city B at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour in a 60 kilometers per hour in a linear path. Linear path means a straight line path. Okay. Again, it travels back from the city B to A with a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Along the same route. The distance between two cities are 120 kilometers. What is the mean speed of the vehicle? Okay. Meya patta, right? කියන්නේ බලන්න දැන් mean speed එකෙන් කොහොම එකක් කරකවන්නත් පුළුවන් ඉතින්. Simple පොඩ්ඩක් thinking එක ඕන, right? The cities A and B. A, B is the city. Two cities are there, A, B, right? This vehicle, when it is going from A to B, travels with a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Now imagine to travel this distance of, now you have a distance of 120 kilometers between the two cities. 120 kilometers distance between the cities. When the vehicle traveling from A to B takes it is traveling at a uniform speed of 60 kilometers per hour. So now imagine how many hours would this vehicle take to travel from point A to point B. It travels 60 kilometers per hour of a speed. Packet kilometer hatta yanna පුළුවන් ඒ speed එකෙන්. So at 120 and it takes 2 hours. 2 hours, you know. It takes 2 hours to reach point B. When it is traveling back from point B to A, it travels at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Right? You have to travel 120 kilometers. So when you are traveling with a speed of 40 kilometers per hour, you have to travel for 3 hours. මොකද පැයකට යන්නේ 40යි. පැය දෙකට 80යි. පැය 3කට තමයි you will reach 120. You will take 3 hours. You will take 3 hours for the whole journey. 3 hours. Okay. What is mean speed? What is mean speed? Total distance divided by the time. Okay. What? Hold on. Okay, what is mean speed? Total distance divided by time. Okay, now see here. Mean speed, distance by time. What was the distance that he was traveling? He traveled from A to B for 120 and B to A again from again 120. So altogether 240 kilometers travel kala tinewa. He has traveled altogether the journey of 240 kilometers. How much of a time? Yanakota 2 hours, Enakota 3 hours. So altogether 5 hours. 5 hours. So what would be his speed? Right, 48 kilometers per hour. This is the answer. Right, needs a thinking. This is the fourth option, right? Now, so second option. Second option is the answer. Total journey, yeah, he travels from A to B and comes back from B to A. Math එක කරන්න මේවා දාගන්න මම රිවිව් එක බලනකොට තිබ්බ නැත්තම් එකට දෙනවා මෙහෙදී. Right. All right. Next one. Right. Next question. Okay. 16. When the following object is kept on the equilibrium value R. Okay. What is the mass? Okay. Object is stationary on a tabletop, whatever it is. So the answer for the 16th one is 15th one is this. So they say that when the object is kept on a tabletop or something, it stays at equilibrium, does not move vertically downward or horizontally. So the weight of this object would be, they say it is 350 newtons. Reaction would also be 350 newtons. If it needs to be staying at equilibrium, they ask us to find the mass. We know weight equals mass into gravitational acceleration. They have given us weight. That is 350 newtons. We know what's gravitational acceleration. That is 10 ms minus 2. The mass of the object will be 35 kilograms, right? So you can simply get this answer quickly. 35 kilograms. Next one. Select the true statement regarding the asexual reproduction. Asexual means not sexual. That means it does not need to produce gametes. Sexual, you don't need gametes. Occurrence of meiosis, no. If there are no gamete formation, there will be no meiosis. So you can write no gamete formation, no meiosis. No gamete formation, no meiosis. That's how you have to derive this. That's how you have to review this. Occurrence of meiosis when there is no gametes. Production of organism resembles the mother organism. Mother organism exact when that would be different. This comes if okay, they say that this is asexual reproduction. That's very true. Asexual reproduction, it resembles the mother organism 100% most of the time. Yes, that's true. Okay, participation of both parental organisms, that is for sexual. Right, that is for sexual. This is wrong. So the answer is third one. Okay, an organ stores human sperm temporarily. Epididymis. Okay, next one. Select the answer which indicate the number of oxygen atoms in 5 moles of carbon dioxide. Okay. First of all, we have to understand what carbon dioxide is. Okay. This is a molecule of carbon dioxide. See how many oxygen atoms are there? You have 2 oxygen atoms, 2 O atoms. Okay. 2 oxygen atoms are there. So if they say if you take like, just imagine, if you take like carbon dioxide, 1000 molecules, 1000 carbon dioxide. Now, 1 carbon dioxide molecule contains 2 oxygen atoms. If you take 1000 carbon dioxide molecules, in 1 carbon dioxide molecule, you have 2 oxygen atoms. In 1000 molecules, how many oxygen atoms you will find? 2000 O atoms. Because 1 carbon dioxide molecules, 2 atoms of oxygen. And if you take 1000 carbon dioxide molecules, you would have 2 oxygen atoms. In 1000 molecules, you will altogether have 2000. They say us to take 5 moles of carbon dioxide. How much? 5 moles. CO2. What is 5? 5 is 5. Moles means what? 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 of carbon dioxide. So one molecule contains how many? 2 oxygen atoms. How many molecules? 5 moles. Okay, this is the value stand for moles. This is 5, right? So altogether, how many oxygen atoms? 2 into 5 is 10. 10 moles. 10 into 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 of oxygen atom. That means 10 moles. 10 moles of oxygen atoms. This should be okay with you because we have discussed this twice. Before the mixtures, we completely revised the quantification of element lesson as a seminar, right? And we did all these calculations, right? So 10 moles. So the answer is yeah, answer is this. No, this is indicated as the answer in your answer sheet. Option 2. Option 2. ළමයි ඔක්කොම ලියාගෙන එන්න නැත්නම් එළවනවා, right? Right. Select the polyatomic ion with a positive charge. Okay. Carbonate CO3 2 minus. Sulfate SO4 2 minus. Nitrate NO3 minus. Ammonium ammonium NH4 plus. So this is the answer. 21st. What is represented by the number belong to each in a chemical formula? What is represented by the number belong to each element in a chemical formula? All right, okay, I'll do that. So they say what? If I mention the chemical formula carbon dioxide, what this number below oxygen tells you in this molecule there are two oxygen atoms and one carbon atom. The number of molecules of it's not the number of atoms in a mole of that compound. That's all. Sorry. Number of moles. The number of atoms of element present in a molecule of that compound. Sorry. Mole එකක් ගැන කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ when you talk about a single chemical formula, right? This is not the answer. The number of atoms of that element present in a molecule of that compound. So if you take a carbon dioxide molecule, how many atoms of oxygen you would find here? 2. That's what indicated by the 2 below number 2 below oxygen atom. If you take a molecule of carbon dioxide, how many atoms of carbon and oxygen would be present in the molecule? That's what it says. Okay. Option 3 is the answer. Sorry, option 3. So now see, when we are doing the reviews, takes a lot of time. Sometimes most of the time it takes 2 hours for the discussion of the MCQ paper because MCQ papers contains a lot of information. So we don't just go for the answers, we discuss it with reviews. Takes time. Right? Practice when that's for the simple thing that you have to start right now onwards. Okay. So reaction of magnesium with oxygen. Magnesium is a solid which reacts with oxygen gas under heat and it forms magnesium oxide, which is a solid that is white. If you can remember, it's a white powder which has the basic nature. So you have nothing to balance here. One magnesium atom here, one magnesium atom. You have to balance here. 2 oxygen atom. Hold on. Now put a 2 here. Put a 2 there. Right? That's what I try to do. Put a 2 here. Right? So then how would the x would be 1, x, y, z. This is x ne, this is y ne, this is what z ne. So what is the answer for that one?
X should be 2.
Here, sorry. Sorry, it has to be 2 ne. Magnesium has to be balanced. So when you put a 2 here, okay, I will finalize that also. Sorry, I forgot that, right? So in this, okay, I would do it from the right beginning, right? You have magnesium on this side, oxygen on this side, magnesium 1 atom, magnesium 1 atom on this side. You have 2 oxygen atoms. To balance it with this, you have to put a 2 over here. Okay, then that's that 2 over here. Okay, right? So in this case, now you have 2 magnesium atoms on this side, 1 magnesium atom on this side. You have to put a 2 to balance the both sides. 2 into O2O, 2 oxygen atoms on the right hand side. You have already 2 oxygen atoms on the left hand side. So the chemical reaction is balanced. So X has to be 2, Y has to be 1, and Z has to be 2 again. This is the answer. Fertilized egg cell is known as a zygote. Right, 24th. Sodium oxide, magnesium oxide, aluminium oxide, silicon oxide, sulfur trioxide are the oxides are the third periodic elements. Select the answer which includes the strong, acidic, amphoteric, and strong basic. Okay. If you can remember, metallic oxides are basic. Okay. Non-metallic oxides are acidic. So we have to go for strong basic and strong acidic. So if you can remember, the basicity of oxide, now when we were talking about these oxides, when we have to talk about these oxides, first group oxide is sodium oxide, second group oxide is magnesium oxide, third group oxide is aluminium oxide, fourth group oxide is silicon dioxide, right? Fifth group oxide is P2O5. Sixth is sulfur dioxide. Seventh is Cl2O7. Right? So this is how it went. If you can remember, the basicity of oxide coming when going from left to right across the third period, basicity of oxide reduces. Basicity reduces. And this is an amphoteric oxide. I've told you what amphoteric oxides are, and I'll be revising it again when we are doing the revision. And the acidity of oxide increases. That's what simply happens. Okay, so if you select this one, this is the strongest base because basicity increases now in going from left to right. And if you talk about the acidity would be high on the right extreme corner. So they have given you sodium oxide with a strong base. Amphoteric would be this obviously, and out of acids, sulfur trioxide is going to be the strongest acid, right? We could, if we are writing this, we have discussed it enough, right? This thing amma karla tiyenne point ekata ovara liya tiyena weekends are third lesson, grade 10. So the option is first, right? Sulfur trioxide. They are select the answer to strong acid, amphoteric, strong base, strong acid, sulfur trioxide, amphoteric, aluminum oxide. This is sodium oxide. First option. Fifth one, method of artificial vegetative propagation is shown in the above diagram. Select the group of plants which can obtain according to the method shown here. This is ground layering. You have gone through the examples. Saman pitch and Valdehi. Those are examples. Saman pitch and Valdehi. Ground layering. Possible. Even the line part practical, right? Citrus family practical, right? Make if you cannot remember, please be in touch with the revision grade 10 group. Whenever I display that, I will be doing. I will be indicating when I now when you attend the physical classes, I will be indicating a message on the revision group every time when I start a new lesson for grade 10. Alut lesson right? Done because you were physical online in online classes and links were shared, so you could easily access. So then when it is when the situation is not like that, I will be indicating in the revision MCQ revision grade 10 group so you can attend the physical classes. Sunday morning class, most of the time Sunday morning class, right? Tuesday then Tuesday class in the grade 11 Sunday morning 11 to 1, right? Okay. Right, Right. If you what they ask, which point has the equivalent pressure to the atmospheric pressure? This was proved by us. We make a prove karane prove statements. So atmospheric pressure is the pressure which is applied on this surface of the water. That pressure would be equal to pressure at point B. We prove this. Right. Simply proof proof right. In which part of the female reproductive system does the formation of zygote occurs? Zygote formation is mark formation of zygote. Formation of zygote means ovum plus sperm. What do you call this technically? Fertilization. Fertilization inside the fallopian tube. Right, but important. Now what is inside the womb? Now you call this zygote. You call this fertilization of ovum and the sperm. You call it for zygote. Zygote start cell division and rolls down all the way from the fallopian tube and gets implanted in the womb. This is called implantation. This is implantation. Okay, interplantation. Okay. That's different. What they ask from here, they ask where the fertilization takes place. Fusion of ovum with the sperm. Where does it take place in the female human reproductive system? In the inside the fallopian tube. Right. Next. 28. A solution made by dissolving white powder produced by a boy burning magnesium strip. Magnesium oxide. Can you remember that I told you? Right? So red litmus paper, red and blue litmus paper strips were added into the solution. Observation: change color. Observation: change of color observed with red litmus only. Okay, red litmus changes color into blue if you find a base. Right? Magnesium oxide is an acidic oxide. Wrong. Right? Wrong. So magnesium oxide, simply it will be like this in my vein. Right? If you react magnesium with oxygen, what would be produced? Magnesium oxide. This is a white color powder. I told you it before. If you dissolve magnesium oxide, white powder in water, you would obtain magnesium hydroxide, MgOH twice aqueous. This is colorless and basic. So if you have a magnesium hydroxide solution, if you put a blue litmus paper, if it was a blue litmus papers can identify only acids. Blue litmus paper remains blue. But what do they have done? They have inserted a red litmus paper and it has turned blue. That means red litmus paper turns into blue. Red litmus turns into blue when it finds bases. You will be learning this in grade 11. Actually, you have learned this in grade 7 also. Right? So then, those memories important. Right? Right? So then, but don't worry, we'll be starting a lesson called acid and bases in this grade. You'll be learning all of this. Grade 7 right? Okay. Observation: change of the color is observed. Obviously, the color should observe. Right? Color change should be observed because red litmus use karane, so you can write this if you want. I'll give you time for you to write it down. Not this diagram, but the remaining. Right? Be quick, be real quick. Right. Okay. So conclusion. Now, if red litmus turns blue, changing color, they have not indicated the color change. Changing color is changing color. You have to know what red litmus turns into when it meets bases. It turns into blue, right? But now, if red litmus turns into blue when you put it into solution, it should be obvious a base, not an acid. So the conclusion is wrong. Conclusion is wrong, but the observation is correct. Observation is correct, conclusion is incorrect. That is the answer. Okay, next one. Right. Organisms which are not sensitive to antibiotics. You obviously know archaea, they're not sensitive to antibiotics, right? And even eukarya, now in your note it has indicated eukarya are not sensitive to antibiotics. Why? When you talk about eukarya, you have protista, fungi, animals, and plant. Out of them, you definitely know fungi are effective. They are sensitive to antibiotics. You can take only fungi and bacteria can be treated with antibiotics. But what about animals and plants? Are they sensitive? They can be. No, antibiotics cannot be used against us. Can you understand? Antibiotics can be used against fungi. Antibiotics can be used against bacteria to kill those germs in different mechanisms to save us from diseases. But antibiotics cannot be used against us to kill us. Right? Can you understand? That's what sensitivity is. So if you have underlined only bacteria, that's not true, right? In eukarya, fungi can be treated using antibiotics. So the answer has to be archaea and bacteria both. Archaea and eukarya both. Okay. 30th. 30th, following figures shows instrument filled with colored water. What is shown by this experiment? Can you remember? Though the shape or the volume of the liquid is not a matter for hydrostatic pressure, what it only matters is the vertical height. That's what we concluded from this experiment. Showing the pressure is equal at the same level of the same liquid. True. Let's go for the rest of the remaining. Showing liquid pressure exists at all directions. No, that's not the true. That's not true. We did experiments with we wrote facts and we actually discussed for what purpose this experiment was done. We did many experiments in this lesson, and හැම එකක්ම name කරා for what purpose did we do this experiment, right? Pressure is exerted by liquid column is not depend on the shape but only depend on its height. That is the exact thing. Showing the liquid pressure changes with density. That's obvious, but it is not concluded here. So the most appropriate answer here is the third one. Which of the following occasion forces act on the object are balanced by the object at equilibrium? Simple right? So let's go for the answer. In this case, 30 Newton acting on this side, 20 Newton acting on this side. This as a result, object is not at equilibrium, right? 8 the 15 Newton's force is acting on this side and 15 Newton force is acting on the opposite direction, and resultant would be 0 Newtons. Object is at equilibrium. Okay. In this case, you can see 5 Newtons onto this side, 10 Newtons onto this side. Object is not at equilibrium. Object would be moving upwards. Right. In this case, altogether see here 20 Newtons onto this side, 10 Newtons onto this side. Object will not be at equilibrium. Equilibrium again this object. That's what I'm saying, Palla. Select the answers with element which consists of complete electronic configuration in the valence shell. So select the noble gases: helium, neon, argon, neon, helium. All right. Next one. An eukaryotic organism with chitinous cell wall. We are talking about fungi that can decompose organic material. Fungi. Organic. Chitin is a polysaccharide. If you can remember, structural polysaccharide found in animals. Chitin can be seen in exoskeletons of arthropods. Kuruminiumගේ shell එකේ තියෙන්නේ ඉස්සගේ පොත්තේ එහෙම තියෙන්නේ chitin. It's a structural polysaccharide. No problem, you can eat it. Right? So, but fungi, they have a cell wall. The cell wall also made up of chitin. Okay. Gravitational acceleration of moon is 1.6 ms minus 2. The value of it on Earth is 10 ms minus 2. Weight of an object on the moon is 32 kilograms. What are weight and mass on Earth? Okay. Weight of the object on moon is 32. Weight of the object on moon is 32. What is the weight of object on Earth and mass? Okay. All right. So mass of the object would be similar in both moon and Earth because mass means the amount of matter in an object, right? As you know, the matter is made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. Atoms, simply we say, structural unit of matter is atoms. So atoms is a mass, right? That mass is the definition for mass of an object, right? So several atoms combine together to form any structure. So that would be the mass of a structure. Weight is the acceleration is given by the ground onto the mass of an object, right? So weight would be the multiple of mass into gravitational acceleration. So mass of any object would not be changed if you are taking it from the Earth towards the mass, right? Sorry, into the moon. From the Earth into the moon, the mass of the object will not be changed unless you break it into 2 pieces or 3 pieces. If the amount of matter in an object is not harmed, not dismissed, the mass of the object remains same, right? That's how you have. That's how I should have explained it to you. So we can find the mass of this object on Earth. They have indicated weight of the moon on the weight of the object on moon is 32 newtons. So weight equals mg, right? We have to find out mass. Weight divided by gravitational acceleration of the moon is equal to the mass. Weight is 32 newtons. Gravitational acceleration of moon is 1.6 they say, right? When 3 divided by 1.6 is 20, right? 20 kilograms would be the mass of this object on moon. If that object is brought down onto the Earth, mass of the object would not be changed. No, so you can find out the weight of the object on Earth. W equals mg. Mass of the object on Earth would be the same mass as it was on moon, 20 newtons, and the gravitational acceleration on Earth is 10 ms minus 2. So it's gonna be 200 newtons. Isn't it? Okay. So you have a problem there. Eh? Anna, you have the answer. Weight and the mass. No? This is the option. Weight and the mass. Weight on the Earth, mass of the object. It could be on Earth, moon, whatever. Mass doesn't change. Right? When a solid object completely immersed, right? Okay. So go for this calculation. Sorry, Lamai, this has to be 3 point. This has to be 32. I'm sorry. Sorry. Right. Okay. All right. Next. So Archimedes principle, right? When a solid object is completely immersed in water, the upper stacked on it. Okay. See here. I have a container filled with a liquid, let's say water. And I have a container in this container filled with water. Okay, filled with water. And then what do? I immerse an object. I immerse an object completely on it. Right? The volume which is equal to the volume of this object. The volume which is equal to the volume of this object will be spilled from this container. Volume of water which is equal to the volume of the wall will be spilled from this container. Let's say the volume of ball is, let's say the volume of ball is 1 decimeter cube. Sorry, not decimeter, that is the volume of liquid, no? So let's say the volume of ball is 1 meter cube. Let's say 1 meter cube of a ball I have immersed in the solution, immersed in water. So how much of water would be spilled? 1 meter. What do I have to do? I had to weigh the weight of this 1 meter cube of water. What did I do? I immersed an object on water completely. Object is completely immersed in water. So weight of a volume which is equal, a volume of water which is equal to the volume of the ball will be spilled out of the container. So I have to collect the whole amount of water spilled. That would be 1 meter cube. And if I weigh the weight of the spilled amount of water, that would be the upthrust created by the water on the object. If the weight of the object is, if the weight of this object is equal to the upthrust created by the object on the object, upthrust created by the liquid water on the object, this would be floating. Okay. If the weight is greater than the upthrust created by the water, this would be sinking. Okay. Now, what do they ask? When a solid object completely immersed in water, the upthrust act on it. We can't tell. If the object is sinking, weight of the object would be greater than the upthrust. If the object is floating, weight would be equal to upthrust. Okay. They have not mentioned whether the object is sinking or is it stationary after immersing them. Can you remember we spoke about few situations of objects which are inside water, completely, partially submerged and floating. Floating means stable. Completely submerged and floating. They have not said it. No. Completely immersed in water. That's it, right? Completely submerged and resting at the bottom. We have 3 situations. We discuss about 3 situations. None of them are indicated here. They just say as the object is completely immersed in water. That's it. So the greater than the weight, upthrust is greater than the weight. We can't say that unless they provide us information, sufficient information. That's not given here. Upthrust is equal to the weight. That is also cannot be obtained from here. They don't tell us the object is floating or sinking. Upthrust is equal to the volume of displaced water. Yeah, that's true. When you immerse an object, the volume of the water which is equal to the volume of the object would be spilled, okay, displaced. If you find the weight of the displaced amount of water, that would be the upthrust created on the object from the liquid. Okay, so then this is correct. Option 3 is correct. Option 3 is correct. All right, next. Reactivity order, not in the proper order, they have messed it up, right? So if you have studied this after sodium, you would find different other elements, and then you can immediately find magnesium. Aluminium, you can find several, and then before tin, you can have iron. You have to consider with these examples what the best option for this would be, right? So then after tin, that can be lead. This is the option. So not in the order. This is not in the order. After sodium, magnesium, but it was aluminium. So you have before iron, you have many, right? So you have different order, but calcium cannot be here after sodium. Likewise, you have to go on, right? Right. 37th. What is the adaptation shown by horror seed to disperse by wind? Can you see that the horror seed has 2 wings-like structures, right? Bearing wings-like structures. Symbol of a light-dependent resistor. LDR, this one. resistor into which light becomes a factor. 39. Select an occasion atoms do not combine by covalent bonds. HCl, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen and chlorine, they are ionic. Hold on, no, sorry. That is not a ionic bond. It's a covalent bond. I will explain it when you come to acid and base. Graphite, atomic lattice, right? You would find only carbon to carbon covalent bonds. Hydrogen chloride, though it looks like they have a ionic bond, no, they don't have. They have a covalent bond. Diamond, again, carbon atoms are combined to form the atomic lattice, again covalent. Sodium chloride, we know it more commonly, sodium plus and Cl minus ionic bonds. Recently, several urban areas were affected by sudden floods. The main human activity causes abundance of factories in urban areas. Okay, deforestation. Okay, increase of the usage of polythene. Okay, unplanned construction and unplanned waste disposal. Urban areas can be urban areas කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය කොළඹ flood වෙන්න reason එකක් තියෙන්නේ එක්ක කැලණින් වලින්. නැත්තම් කැලණින් flood කියන්නේ මේ ගඟ ගලනවා කියන එක නෙමෙයි. වැහලක් සමානට flood වෙනවා. ගඟ ගල්ලා තමයි හරි drainage system එකක් තිබ්බනම් it would not flood most of the time. කොළඹට වැස්ස ගමන් flood නේ තමයි. right මර දාන ආම ස්ට්‍රීට් පැත්තේම ගඟ ගලනවා වගේ වහිනවනේ වැස්ස ගමන් මේ එකතු වෙනවනේ. That's because of unplanned construction and unplanned waste disposal, right? That is the human activity. Abundant factories can be there, but if you have a proper drainage system and proper town planning, won't be affected for floods. Right, this is how we discussed the paper and finish it. මට දැන් ලකුණු ටික දැනගන්න ඕන ඕගොල්ලෝගේ.